Good evening. Welcome to the Poetry Project. Tonight, the readers are Lydia Tomkiw and Steve Levine. Before I introduce Lydia, I'd like to announce a few of the upcoming events. There aren't so many left this year. Next Wednesday night, Kimiko Han will be reading with Patricia Spears-Jones. Then on Monday, the 22nd, I'm going to try and say this name, and I know it's wrong, but we'll do the best we can. Joe Cillieu and Kenneth Koch will do a presentation and talk about teaching poetry to school children in Beijing. And that's the 22nd, and that's a Monday night, and that's at 8. And then the last reading of the season will be a reading by novelist Raymond Federman and essayist and social critic Michelle Wallace. And that'll be the 24th at 8 p.m. Lydia Tomkiw is here from Chicago. Her books include Pop Gun Sonatas, Violins, Big Skin, and The Dreadful Swimmers. She is the U.S. contributing editor of the excellent British poetry magazine Joe Soap's Canoe. She is, with Don Hedeker, the poetry music collaboration Algebra Suicide. Their CDs are on sale with her books and actually copies of Joe Soap's Canoe as well. And they're titled, the CDs, The Secret Like Crazy and recently issued Swoon. I've been enjoying over the last couple of weeks reading Lydia's poems from her book, The Dreadful Swimmers, and also off the liner notes for the Algebra Suicide CDs. There's a kind of Dear Diary openness to the writing, and at the same time, a pulpy, sensuous closure reminiscent of sassy adult romance, new film noir, and punk. You get lines like, "You can't plead insanity in a paternity suit. Okay, you can, but it's so insulting." Or, "Outside, a headlight licks the window, and undoubtedly, cross town, something is jumping, but here I cradle your head like a bundle of wheat." It's a pleasure to have her here at the Poetry Project. Please welcome Lydia Tomkiw.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And go right into this right now. I usually save this piece for last because of its subject matter, but because it's semi-autobiographical and deals with a sort of a universal subject, I thought I'd do it first. And actually it's sort of a cheery type of poem. It's called Little Dead Body Poem. How right you are, dear Paul. And by the way, the dear Paul in the first line is Paul Hoover from Chicago. How right you are, dear Paul, that we hear of famous people's deaths while on vacation. Perhaps it's so their funerals are not too crowded, with all their loyal fans being out of town and all. Those celebrities, they're pretty clever. I've heard that someone's born every 8 seconds, so I assume that someone dies every 8 seconds just to keep things even. It makes me feel shortchanged when I read the obituary page. Someone's holding back information. It also prompts me to flip through the telephone directory on sleepless nights, saying over and over and over again, "Yep, you're all going, every last one of you." Wow. Heaven must be a big place. I don't know too many dead people, but folks tell me I'm young. When my grandfather died, he was laid out in the Bub funeral home, and I was secretly glad Mr. Bub didn't change his name to something more romantic when he went into business. I just wish it was less memorable. My high school locker partner, Ned, worked part-time for a mortician. Imagine dressing dead people, straightening their ties, fluffing up their hair, so you can afford to take a girl out to the movies on Saturday night. That's love. No, That's adolescent desperation. I would have been honored to have Ned take me to the movies and let him buy me popcorn. Instead, I went out with a boy who died. The hardest part for me was knowing that his body didn't just disappear on the bed the moment he left. I think that's what keeps me off of suicide, the idea that there's something left for someone else to clean up. How rude and inconsiderate. It's a pain to take out the weekly trash, let alone figure out what to do with over 100 pounds of flesh that's about to go bad. It would be even worse in India, where there's a religious sect which believes you shouldn't desecrate any of the elements with the dead. They can't be buried or burned. They can't be chucked out to sea. So they're taken to the top of the Tower of Silence, where they become the vulture's problem. How's that for passing the buck? No, when I go, I'm going clean, convenient, leaving no mess, as if I vaporized while taking a shower, as if I moved to Antarctica, leaving no forwarding address. And this next one, if you want to applaud, that's okay. This next one also deals with a universal that's been bugging me for quite a while. And though this universal isn't as depressing as the previous one, it's equally as frightening. This is called Loose Change, and it's in 5 parts. 1, sometimes I think of money and curse the country that first coined it. At parties, at reunions, out on the street, everyone you bump into asks, "So, what are you doing now?" What they really want to know is how much money you make. Then they want to know your sexual preference, but only if you make enough money. 2, money scares me. It deals with numbers, and I am not linear-brained. It bears portraits of presidents, and I'm politically unconscious. On the back of every dollar bill, mystical Latin words and a pyramid with an eye in it. That was the monster under my bed when I was a child. There's the fear of not having money, caught downtown at midnight, 5 cents short of bus fare, caught at tax time, owing the country $2,000 you don't have. They'll come after you. They'll put you in jail. You'll lose your job and you'll never make money again. Your life will be ruined. No one will rent you an apartment. 3, sex and money, both needed to prolong civilization. But you can survive without sex, not without money. I had a friend who once borrowed my life savings to pay her rent. I never got it back, but she always smelled of designer perfume. I had a friend. Forgive me for being petty, but it's a matter of lifeline. Take my money and you take my food and shelter away. You want me to die. How can I like you? 4, Grandma always told me it's as easy to marry a rich man as it is to marry a poor one. But Grandma came from a communist country where such fortune cookie proverbs hold true. A penny saved is a penny earned sounds backwards, and a penny for your thoughts is so insulting. Wads of bills for the head work of thinking, or instead, give me a haircut that makes me look like I couldn't have a job, like I have some secret income, like all my starving artist friends. 5, I hate money. The root of all evil, which spelled backwards reads live. I am living to circumvent money. I am living to find a new method of measuring success. Thanks. In that last piece, I mentioned how I'm not linear-brained, and it's quite true. I have quite a problem with numbers, and numbers and I just don't get along because they're too accurate. And you've got to have some leeway in life. And this next piece is about that, and it's definitely nothing against men. I love men. I adore men. I married one, all right. And, but it's called Men in Perfection. I think it was the Greeks that invented the line, and they were all men, and they put the world in a tizzy. I am still looking for a straight line in nature, for the perfect circle, for some symmetry that would drive me nuts. I think a man invented numbers just to make my life hell. And then he invented negative numbers and irrational numbers and called all these real numbers just to torture me further. And when that wasn't enough, he invented imaginary numbers to prove I'm really retarded. I'm still putting my hands over my eyes when I sleep, searching for the perfect black, and staring into the sun, searching for the perfect white, which I'm told is a mixture of all the colors in the world, which still doesn't make sense to me after all these years of art school, although it is the opposite of what black would be. I think a man invented the word perfect because he was mad at God. I think God got mad at men and invented time, but put it in such a secret pattern we could never figure it out. I think God got the best of us. Okay. We're having a drought right now in Chicago, which basically means that our sidewalks aren't going to be cleared off for a while, and that gang members are going to raise up their activities because they figured out that when it's drizzling, the bullets don't shoot as far. But anyway, this is called Downpour. Lightning bolt, mute before the thunder, like lovers are dumb before a kiss. Out of chaos, skies emerge, wanting us to capture them. We're sick of snubbing the chill. We are wet. We have no shame. It has us. We wear the bones we're sure to die with. We hope they remember pleasure. We hear the ghost of our mother's voices telling us to be flawless, to be very, very clever. Our skin can't take the ache of hunger for other skin. We crave it badly, hanker for it fiercely, think of it while we're bathing, dream of it while we're drunk. I'm still waiting for proof that says it's safer outdoors than in. In translation, the Chinese call wind moving air. It moves viciously, teasing us, bitter that we aren't as stupid as the trees. Okay. And once in a while when there's nothing to do and I don't feel like sitting around organizing surprise parties for people I don't know, I go into Procities and look up archaic or weird forms that I can play around with. And one of the forms that I found was the rondel, which I've done a lot of work in. And rondel, thank you. Somebody knows the rondel. It's so archaic. My gosh, how old are you? Anyway, the rondel is basically an archaic form. It's 14 lines, and the rhyme pattern is A, B, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, B, A, B. Lines 7 and 8, and 13 and 14 repeat lines 1 and 2. And now that you've all written that down, you can see how well I've scanned this and worked it into these next two poems. The first is called Verbal Blunder Rondel. No slip of the tongue could cause this misunderstanding. It's your head and its wicked working that's led you to this awkward pause, after blurting out that vicious clause which brings those icy stares which say, drop dead. No slip of the tongue could cause this misunderstanding. It's your head that controls your flapping jaws and dictates all those thoughts you've said. Don't claim that your phrasing was misread or twisted by perception flaws. No slip of the tongue could cause this misunderstanding. It's your head. And this next rondel is called After Busy Summer Rondel. And I particularly like it because the rhyming words all end in the same letters but are pronounced differently. So it like works, but on a different, sort of like daughter and laughter. I have this immigrant mother-in-law that every time I talk to her, she brings up, well, you were an English student. Why is daughter and laughter pronounced different? And I just say to her, well, that's the English language. You know, I can't learn French. You know, it's really hard for me. Try learning French or whatever. But anyway, this is After Busy Summer Rondel. As autumn leaves are falling down, it's time to reap the fun we've sown. Cash in on all indulgence blown due to business that was at hand. Drown that urge to work today. Let's rumble into town. Big-lipped, hyper with body tone. As autumn leaves are falling down, it's time to reap the fun we've sown. Let's be the adjective, not the noun. Ticking while the others groan and dance a samba to their drone. Let's don our restless cha-cha gown as autumn leaves are falling down. It's time to reap the fun we've sown. All right. Another form I've worked with lately and in past years has been the palindrome, which is things that read frontwards and backwards the same. And I'm sure you've all seen that commercial where the egg drops on the frying pan and they say, this is your brain. And then after it boils a little bit, it says, you know, this is your brain on drugs, don't do drugs. Well, after it carbonates a bit and turns totally black, it's like, this is your brain after doing a palindrome, because it's really hard to do it backwards and forwards. And I've done linear palindromes, which are read backwards and forwards, line for line, and then I've done them all the way down the page. And recently, someone came up to me after one of my shows and said, I read a translation of your palindrome in German. And I said, and I just said, well, what was it like? Because I can't imagine, like, I mean, maybe in Arabic, maybe, you know, with Cyrillic alphabet or something like that, but like, I'd like to meet the person that translated that. Anyway, this is one of them. This appeared in the Brooklyn Review a few issues ago. It's called Tender Red Net. And this is linear. It means every line reads backwards and forwards. Sex alert relaxes. Stop, sir, in mad saxophone men. Oh, pox, as damn iris spots, deb gals, damned as nuns. A den, mad slag bed murmurs. You batted a boy's rum riot, tab arbitoire. Oh, who can go cognac? Oh, who? Snub nose, vile dude, lives on buns, epic air recipe. A dog, a Panama man, a pagoda, go bop. Meter us, ma'am, sure tempo bog. Sun evasion, no is a Venus's tender red net. 10 semen parts, madam's trap, nemesis net. No sin, unison. Raw as is a banal luna, a null in abysses, a war yell amid a dim alley. And this one is one that reads from top to bottom. And one thing I've noticed in writing these palindromes, which really, I mean, my corpus callosum has just like gone away after I've done these. But since it's so like heavily left brain oriented in terms of figuring the language out and figuring the letters out and stuff like that, they all turn out to be about sex for some reason. And I think it's like the right brain kicking in and saying, hey, I want equal time or something like that. But anyway, this one's called Snug Guns. Trap gun symbols spill at a female, so perturbed. Insane moguls, bagnio do, split sparse, sir, go flat and asleep, lane. Oh me, reconciler, evil maiden made viola. He lit a love, fast ram's rod. Onanistic I tore warm sin ode, hot evil stifles fox's drab. Dim it, lasso local labia. Oedipus muse sums up idea. Eyeball a colossal, timid bard. Sex of self, it's live to hedonism, raw, erotic. It's an odor, smart, safe, volatile halo. I've damned, I am live relic, no ceremonial peel. Sad natal fog rises, raps till pseudo and gab. Slug omen, a snide brute repose. Lame fatal lips slap my snug part. Another thing I've done, taking so many poetry workshops and stuff. I mean, what's the first sin of writing poetry in a poetry workshop? Anybody? No cliches. Stay away from cliches. Fresh language, right? And after dealing with this for a certain amount of time, you start getting like sort of trigger happy, and you start saying, well, I'm gonna write a thing completely composed of cliches, all right? Yeah, and it's gonna make sense, and it's gonna be good, or whatever. But anyway, so I got into that mode. This was shortly after undergrad school. And I found that the best cliches I could find were like adages or sort of proverbs on how to live life. And I found that a lot of them sort of contradicted one another. So this piece came out and it's called An Explanation for Why No Action is Taken. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, but better safe than sorry, and when in doubt, don't. We should look before we leap, knowing a stitch in time saves 9, and try to make hay while the sun shines, because he who hesitates is lost, but slow and steady always wins the race. Too many cooks spoil the broth, and God helps those who help themselves. And if you want something done, do it yourself, but 2 heads are better than 1. We know where there's smoke, there's fire, although all that glitters is not gold, and you can't judge a book by its cover, but clothes make the man. Idle hands are the devil's playlot, but we fear burning our candles at both ends, and the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary, so we keep our nose to the grindstone, although all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. I was going to do some love poems, but instead I'm going to do a hate poem. It's New York, man. Actually, this piece was like staged shortly before I left Chicago by a real actress and a real director, and it was kind of strange sitting in the crowd on closing night and watching it done, because I'm used to like other people's work being done after they're dead. So I was like sitting there thinking, gosh, this is what's going to happen to me after I'm dead, maybe. So anyway, so I have to read this to you while I'm still living, and it's called Helio. Johnny, I hate you. I hate the very fabric of your being. I hate the way you avert your eyes as your fingers scan the bottoms of cafeteria tables looking for old gum you can pick off and discreetly put in your mouth and chew. I hate the way you won't drink wine out of anything but wine glasses, and first you examine them for water spots, even in the fanciest of restaurants. I hate looking out my window and seeing you walk down my street, Johnny, because then I can't come out of my house for days, waiting for it to rain and wash you off my sidewalk. I hate the way you spell your name, Johnny, with 2 H's and 3 N's, and you dot the 1 I with a heart, Johnny. I will never write your name that way. And I hate the fact that your real name isn't even Johnny, it's Helio. Helio, like some weird gas that's lighter than nothing. The stuff they shove up balloons for snotty kids' parties. The stuff that would make Einstein sound like an idiot if he swallowed it and spoke. I hate admitting I know who you are, Johnny, when people tell me some crazy story about you, a story you made up to make yourself sound interesting. Like that story of how you had a secret affair with that girl from Poltergeist, sneaking her out of her house while her parents were asleep. But she's dead now, so there's no way to prove it. That's very clever, Johnny. Or like the story of how you went to Harvard, but 2 days before you graduated, you decided to drop out and took off for Guatemala, and no one can check up on you by contacting Harvard to ask if you even ever enrolled because nobody knows your real first name is Helio. Or like the stories of how you used to work in a drugstore, and when you were bored, you'd poke holes in the prophylactics. Now, come on, Johnny. Do you think that makes you attractive, appealing, enticing? I hate your thin little body, Johnny, and I get sick when I think of you at the laundromat, your skinny little underwear going round and round in the dryer while you lean up against a top-load washer drinking a dad's root beer and reading your horoscope in the National Enquirer. I hate your tiny little feet that you brag about all the time, Johnny, because they'll keep you out of the Army, because they don't make combat boots that size. You comb your hair with an egg beater. You have pale eyelashes like that of a pig. You clean your nails with swizzle sticks at bars. You blow your nose at the dinner table and then look at your Kleenex endlessly as if something really interesting came out of your head. Oh, God, how I hate when you do that, Johnny, especially at brunch. You won't eat anything that's pink or yellow or white unless it has ketchup on it. And when you do eat, I hate watching your smacking lips, lips which look like they should be inflated to 20 psi every 50,000 miles, miles that your mouth runs, Johnny, saying nothing amusing or enlightening at all. I hate the way you constantly inject that you lived in Switzerland for 5 years and impregnated that stripper girl there, and you couldn't name the baby Latawanda like you wanted to because it wasn't a government-registered name. I've heard that one a million times, Johnny, that one and all your travel stories. The one about how you think Bulgaria is Marxist, but Groucho Marxist, not Karl, and how in Hungary you came up with the idea that humans evolved from apes who ate morning glory seeds and expanded their minds. How you managed to stay in Sweden for 2 months without any money, knowing only 4 phrases in Swedish, which were hello, kiss me, fuck me, and goodbye. I hate the way you smoke your cigarette, Johnny, holding it between your middle finger and ring finger, blowing smoke rings up over your head like you wish they would turn into a halo. For surely you believe you'll go to heaven, and when you end up in hell, you won't know why, proving things never even out in the end. I hate the way you reach for a bottle of cognac, saying it'll take the edge off. You need some edge, Johnny, some different edge. I hate that you need some edge. I hate that you always whistle green sleeves while shaving, that you won't use public toilets, but when you use private ones, you never lift up the seat, leaving tiny little puddles of yourself there for the next user to sit in. I hate that one of your second toes is longer than the first and the other one shorter, that you've slept with all my friends and now they're crazy. I hate that you call everybody darling. I hate that you're on the bad side of the phone company, Johnny, and you don't have a number, so I can't call you up in the middle of the night and hang up again and again and again just to make sure you are not dreaming of anything nice. I hate the pranks you play, Johnny, walking into a drugstore and asking the pharmacist, "Do you have cotton balls?" And when he says yes, cackling hysterically. Driving to an expressway phone, calling an old girlfriend up, then driving away, leaving the receiver dangling so she can't get any other calls for days. And every month you go into the bank and write, "This is a holdup," on the back of deposit slips, randomly replacing them in their piles, leaving them for some unsuspecting customer to fill out and bring to the teller. Do you think that's cute, Johnny? Do you think it'll never catch up with you, Johnny? Do you think, Johnny? I hate you, Johnny. I hate dreaming about you. I hate sharing the same air with you. I hate thinking about you. I hate the thought that you might ever I hate the thought that you might ever think of me, whether you're clothed or not, drunk or straight, sedated or after 7 cups of coffee. I hate the thought of you ever saying my name. I hate writing about you, Johnny. Johnny with the 2 H's and the 3 N's and the heart over your eye. Johnny whose real name is Helio, whose last name probably means the revolting one in some foreign language. Johnny, I hate hating you and not knowing why. And this is my angular heart in 4 parts, like a square. Okay. 1. My heart is square, neat and orderly, but allows a round peg to fit in, should it be the right size. 2. I get in and out of bed every day, in and out like the motion of everything in this vast world, from sex to birth to death to laundry, banking, and gossip. What goes in our ears, out our lips, in and out, like what we do from room to room, like clothing and underwear, love affairs, moods, and trouble. In and out like the blood in my angular heart. 3. Sometimes I want you so badly, the anvil called desire presses upon my chest, reminding me I'm very hungry for something, something, something. I don't know where you are, or even if you're there. 4. My heart, invented by a man, is comprised of straight lines, straighter than you can imagine. It is hard, and whatever goes through it reaches every corner and fills it. My heart, invented by a woman, looks like my mother with an odd siphon at the bottom. It is spooky to stuff, so much maneuvering to pack it. My heart, invented by a child in February, is cut out of colored paper by safety scissors, is ragged with a pretty paper doily glued behind it, and a scribble in crayon of what is wanted here and now, while looking out at the snow and bleakness, knowing that spring is coming with just everything in its hands, stretched out for one to kiss. That is my favorite heart of all. One of my poetry workshop instructors used to twist a quote by T.S. Eliot and say that good poets borrow and great poets steal. I know it goes a little bit deeper than that, but I like to add to that good poets borrow, great poets steal, and certain other poets skeeze off of first lines of other poets. And I like to do 2 that resulted in that, and I was flipping through Paul Violi's book, and I ran across a title that was called, well, one of Paul Violi's books, okay? It was called When to Slap a Woman. And before I even read it, I thought, no, I'm going to write a reply to that. And this is When to Slap a Man. If the sky turns pink from the champagne you've drunk, and the creature is touching your cheek, telling you heaven is a shade of blue he's invented just for you, it's not time to slap a man. If you're crying so loudly that your neighbors are complaining, and he presents you with a bowl of peanuts, says he wishes they were emeralds, it is not time to slap a man. When he kisses your hand and says you smell lovely, or timidly asks to touch your hair, or you catch him memorizing your perfume, or he talks to you in a noisy, crowded room and his breath is warm on the side of your neck and his lips are grazing your ear, it is not time to slap a man. If he's lighting your cigarette, if he's helping you on with your coat, if he puts his hands over your eyes so you don't see something ugly, if he is lifting you to carry you across a puddle in the street, it is not time to slap a man, nor is it time when he wakes you with a kiss, when he's smiling in his dreams, when he lets you wear his hat, when he calls you brittle sugar, when you can hear what's running through his veins, when you can hear his heartbeat in his chest. And then I went back and read Paul's poem, and it had nothing to do with slapping a woman, so. This is another title. I was flipping through some publication. Jerome Sala. I don't know if he's in the room tonight. No. Um, he's from Chicago. I've known him for quite a few years, and I was flipping through a publication. I saw a title called "One Night I Fell in Love" by Jerome Sala. And anyone that knows, Jerome will, appreciate like the sort of abackness I took to it. So I wrote, before reading the poem, which was very good after I read it, I wrote my own version. This is: one night I fell in love, and I took the bus home filled with mangy people who all looked mentally depraved, and they all smelled like nanny goats, but I didn't care because I had fallen in love and was dizzy with it, and it made everything seem delightful. I think it was cold, but I didn't care if I caught triple pneumonia, my lungs hardening with so much scar tissue that I wouldn't be able to breathe. I couldn't breathe anyway. I was holding my breath. I was so very much in love. And I turned a lovely blue, although I didn't know if it was from holding my breath or from being cold or from being so very, very much in love. At home, I took a bath to try to get it off me, then a shower. Then I started praying to help me fall out of love, but soon found myself praying to always, always feel that giddy, praying that the object of my affection, my affliction, bite his tongue again and again, then have his right ear ring and think of me, and then I prayed that he'd trip and fall down in public and think of me, being very, very glad I was not there to see it. Then I went to bed and I couldn't sleep because I was so very, very much in love. And I got up and I drank a fifth of gin and I smoked a million cigarettes and I thought about all the dead people I knew to make me drowsy, but that didn't work. So I watched a most beautiful movie on TV about a combat during World War II. And then I went to sleep and dreamed I was on the bus again. And despite the heat wave, all the people riding were smiling and trying to give me their seats and quoting Descartes, and they all smelled like lilacs and laundromats. And when I woke up, I was still in love, but not as much. And for my last piece tonight, I'd like to do what I like doing best. It's innocuous, don't worry. It's only words. It's called What I Like Doing Best. Busting slop, swaying gush, nabbing drool, boodling, flinging woo, pitching woo, spooning, smooching, swooning, under the moonlight, under a flashlight, under a sun lamp, under a table, understated, underscored, underrated, understand I won't remove my underclothes, under the influence, under a shower, underwater with an underclassman, watching the submarine races. Lapping faces, playing kissy face, playing smacky lips, playing tonsil hockey, locking lips, ripping lips, cleaning teeth, tongue wrestling, perching, petting, bussing, smacking, slurping, parking in a convertible, in a big rig, in a castle, in a dumpster, in a bathroom, in a river, in front of Rover, in front of Mother, in a field of clover, in a dungeon, in a prison, in a hospital bed, in June, in November, in a tizzy. I remember getting dizzy while listening to like Led Zeppelin in the background, or like Bolero, or Elvis Costello, like Howling Wolf howling, or like Yoko Ono yowling while I was dealing drool, swapping spit, switching lips, whipping pout, trading mouth, smashing face, bouncing lick, gently, elegantly, tenderly, subtly, friendly, coolly, demurely, alluringly, or give it to me surly, burly, late at night or early. I want to get loved up, cuddled up, eaten up, swallowed up, only from the waist up, lip tangle, lip scalp, lip loot, smooch, suck face, make out neck, kiss, salute someone with the throwing of my lips. Thank you.